In a flat up in Chicago with a keyboard and some tea lives a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey,
Evil Genius. Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Spence. Back from not sunny Palo Alto, California. I went last week, this week actually, it's weird. It's Friday, April 24th. I went this week, Monday to Wednesday, to what would have otherwise normally been sunny Palo Alto. And as it turns out, it was not sunny at all. It was raining and pouring, but I did have a fascinating trip. I got to visit my oldest son, who's been living and working out there for a while. And we had a nice visit and a great exploration, ending with a visit to the Computer Science Museum, where I got to see sort of like a walk down memory lane of my childhood of all the video games and computers, from Altairs to Apple IIs to so on and so forth, including most of the video games like ColecoVision, Intellivision, Intellicast, stuff that I remember very vividly. In any event, we had a great time. And I also got a lot of takeaways from meeting some folks. Good morning, Claude. I'm going to try to introduce a lot of that stuff today. And I want to say that I'm on a roll from last week where I'm going to try to keep things to the point. I have so much that has been happening that I want to share with you, but I want to keep it focused. So today we're going to focus on a relatively new development that's relevant not just within the MinuteLaunch system, but it's relevant to everybody. That is that we have the ability now to launch your own software development laboratory in minutes. And many people are doing this with vibe coding. I'm going to describe for you and show for you today why it's better to use the MinuteLaunch system, especially since your obligation starts at quite literally 47 a month, but realistically 97 a month. And in doing so, you end up with something that's actually on WordPress with the ownership and control attributes that really are going to make the difference very soon. Because as we'll talk about, some of the news items that I've seen even as of this morning are that robots are really coming. I was on Twitter this morning and I saw at least a few examples of how of course, Elon Musk's robots are being trained as factory workers and line workers. And when you see the fluidity of the movements and you spend a week or so in Palo Alto in Waymos, which are self-driving, or seeing other good morning, Marcus. When you see other kinds of electric and automated vehicles, you realize we're really inches away from from the goal line. As soon as the AI is combined with the robots to do menial tasks, and they have autonomous capability with hands and feet and movement and vision, there's a class of human beings on this planet that, I have to keep saying this, would be very pleased to get rid of the other 8 billion of us and just use robots and have the rest of the space to themselves. And that is very clear when you go to Silicon Valley, because the amount of wealth and inequity of distribution makes itself known. So one of the things that I want to show you here is that we all now have an opportunity, the masses of us, to use AI in a way that empowers us and perhaps offsets the balance a bit. All right. What I want to start with is a concept too, because I need to do the screen sharing, of course. The concept of the MinuteLaunch Laboratory. And I have a bunch of toys to share too, but let me do the little StreamYard dance, which is I'm going to share the screen, my top screen, because I have a lot of stuff cooking in there. And let me go to big boy view. I think you guys can see this pretty well, but let's do a little introduction. Good morning, John. We've been having some very productive talks with John. Yes, by the way, you guys might notice that MinuteLaunch Shop, also known as Closet Wish, is in full effect. This is my, what I like to call my professor coat. I'm giving it a try on, and I'm enjoying my wardrobe tremendously. By the way, just for a side note, because in case you're wondering, MinuteLaunch Shop, I'm doing as a brand exercise with my 15-year-old son, because we feel that there's a market for this both for adults and children alike. And the feature set that's in here right now, I've been using, as I've hinted at, I've been using it on a regular basis. So I set it up for myself. I've got a lot of my own wardrobe in here, including a lot of the stuff I did acquire through eBay. Fernando has been dressing me. So what's been really wonderful about this is actually traveling in practice. I've got Fernando as my stylist, and I just tell him what I was doing and where I was doing it, and he makes a bunch of wardrobes. And you notice I can also do this myself by just picking from the outfits, right? If I want a combination of a black t-shirt and blue jeans for my wardrobe, I can see the items and then preview myself in them in a various locations. But here's the stuff that I've already had Fernando build for me. Many of these things are actually in practice. So when I went to travel, I had him put together my outfits and things that I might go with. So some rather nice little casual combinations. But all of this stuff I actually acquired, with the exception maybe the blue jeans, maybe the shoes right now. I acquired most of this stuff off of eBay for pennies on the dollar, and I was really surprised at the outcome of this. Okay, swim trunks, casual coats. That's this jacket here, by the way, matching. I'm not wearing that shirt. So a lot of fun. Let me introduce you, before I go into the bigger thing, let me introduce you to what's been going on with the stack of stuff that we've got for everybody to use. First of all, as a concept, having Fernando as your lead. We've got Fernando as the personality, and Fernando is fully equipped both at the level of operation of your tools, but he's got some new tools. You'll notice I released Stripe Gateway, and I'll be introducing a couple other things into here as well. I also had an update with the image editor, which is relevant. Both of these are relevant because the Stripe Gateway is foundational for allowing a very, very lightweight, streamlined, but powerful, very powerful way to sell anything without the need to be relying on Fluent Cart or to be relying on WooCommerce. There are instances where this would make a lot of sense. So I'll talk about this more later, but I'm using this because it's part of how I will do MinuteLaunch Shop. It's how I'm going to be introducing the ability to get to MinuteLaunch Learn. All of these things now have their own simplified way of doing things. There's also, it's worth mentioning, another component that I'm going to be releasing called, I don't know if it would be MinuteLaunch Deals or MinuteLaunch Discount, but it came about because one of my clients was using WooCommerce, and we were trying to set up an arrangement for WooCommerce where they can have a special price for various people based upon preconceived situations, i.e. the clients who are customers of this company had already bought product A, and we want them to have a discount on product B. We basically figured out that there's an easier way of doing things by just talking to Fernando and saying, Fernando, if somebody has A and they get B, this is the discount. Ta-da! Way easier than trying to set up all the coupons and the tags and all the other stuff, whether that be for WooCommerce or whether it be for Fluent Cart, or whether it be for what I think which would be MinuteLaunch Stripe Gateway. In that vein, let me continue to unload a couple things. The MinuteLaunch image editor has received an upgrade, which is super consequential. I have switched it to this new model where you have access to every single one of the Open Router's image models. And why is that consequential? Because to be honest, or frank with you about it, I should say frank because I'm always honest, Google Gemini Flash and ChatGPT are really good models, but they're really super weird about, first of all, not letting you do things with an existing face if it's somebody that you know or even yourself. And second of all, they are not as good as some models, in my opinion, including some of the ones that are non-frontier. So with this, I just put it on auto and I take from the library. I'm going to use my oldest son as a volunteer here. if he's listening, Alex. You notice I was even able to do some girl in bikini shot stuff, which I do to test because I'm pushing the limits to see what it will allow me to do, right? ChatGPT will not let you do a girl wearing a bikini for some reason, even if it's as mundane as that. That's strangely ironic. Here's a picture. My son, Alex, making a funny face. Let's use Alex as a volunteer. And here's what's neat about this. We can still do the normal prompt that can do cool stuff. So let's make him a pilot of United, right? Take the fella in this photo and make him a captain of United Airlines A321 Neo. He's standing in the doorway of the cockpit welcoming passengers to the plane. Now, this kind of prompt with auto creates a remarkable image, way better than before I added these other capabilities. I was surprised because I was thinking Gemini Flash was so awesome, and it is really good. But we've also added lockdown on this. So besides the fact that you've got the capability of saying these things, you can just avoid these if you want and just go right to let's make portrait image. Just this alone, a simple prompt with auto will provide a remarkable outcome very quickly. And of course, this is a capability that's available to Fernando on the front end using MinuteLaunch Coach, which means that you can essentially have Fernando generate all the items you need, both for creatives as well as other things. So what I love about this is I would say he looks a little teeny odd, but he's about 95% okay. My son doesn't make that weird face, but pretty remarkable in auto mode. And what I love about it is if I did ask it to do something with another human being that was a well-known celebrity, it won't block me, which I thought was supremely annoying. Why should I not be able to use somebody else, right? Okay. So do check out MinuteLaunch Image Editor and its new capability. Let's look at Coach. If we go to MinuteLaunch Coach, I have him loaded here. MinuteLaunch Coach is the front end. He's the supercharged Mac daddy of everything because he's got all the capabilities mobile friendly for managing projects, as you can see, as well as individual chats. And if I do projects, it's really awesome because I've also enabled him to do things like create something from an imported or dropped in XLS or XLSX document. So for example, I went to Google Sheets and I grabbed myself a download of the MinuteLaunch Software Bundle spreadsheet. All I need to do is drop this in place and then say with the microphone, which by the way is talking, hey, Fernando, it's Spence. I've given you a spreadsheet of all the MinuteLaunch software. Can you make a web page that would indicate in a kind of cool graphical way which software is the most popular or most important, which things are relevant? I have no idea. Just have fun with it. Just do something you can demonstrate how you can put out a beautiful HTML5 page from this data. Then I hit enter. And when I do, I'm able to essentially have him take this data from the spreadsheet and use it for creating a website. So what I want you to think about, which is remarkably powerful, I now have a tool that's mobile friendly that a business can use Google Docs. It can use XLSX, the new version, not the old fashioned XLS because that's proprietary. It can use CSV, text file. It can really take almost anything, drag it and drop it or upload it from the media library. And he's smart enough with this new canvas to do some remarkable stuff. And this is on the way to my conversation about today's laboratory, because what is happening is we're moving closer, while he's doing that, we're moving closer to a relationship with Fernando himself, which is to say, this is the living, breathing embodiment of Fernando. He is going to be showing up with me in podcasts. He is going to be interacting with you. You will have your own version of Fernando, whether you look at his picture or not. that he is going to say things, do things, talk to you, and execute on it. Whether you put him into a robot form or not is up to you. I was doing some tests earlier, as I indicated, and let's see if I get Fernando here. Hold on. Oh, let's go back here. Fernando, I was going to use with this new system that I've also built. I was putting some credit into Replicate. I was going to be making a living, breathing, talking model. So the concept for me is once I have Fernando as the avatar in charge, whether you want to look at that sort of weird hybrid between, clearly it's a mix between me and Fernando, who is Ricardo Montalban. Whether you want to use that or not, the point is that we're going to have an avatar of an individual rather than a robot who can interact with you, your clients, whatever. If you want to make your own version of that, I've got a new tool I'm going to show you called MinuteLaunch Persona that lets you build your own Fernando, whether it's called Daphne or what were some of the other names that I got? Doug Sheehan has one called Axel. I think, I'm trying to think, Julie had one that was called, I want to say it was Shooter, but I'm probably getting the wrong. Any event, okay. So Fernando in MinuteLaunch Coach, the desktop model, was able to take a spreadsheet of data, input it into his new canvas, which is his build out, and build essentially this beautiful page. But watch what's amazing here. Now I can choose in the top, and this is kind of small, I can choose where I want to publish this. Let's make it a page, but I can use any post type, and I'll call this WordPress software. Notice all of these choices for the display are already pre-chosen, and I'm going to choose publish in the right corner. It instantly gives me this as a working page ready to go. Nothing left. There's no big deal about this in and of itself. We've seen this before, but what is a big deal is that this is Coach, and if I pop him out, I can have him on the desktop working and doing all of this stuff, regardless of whether or not I'm in the site. In other words, like if I pop him out, he's going to do what I've been doing with, let's use my special Windows tool. So like, let's say I'm here and then I start working on other stuff. I've got Coach popped out. He's got his canvas. He can do his magic. I can adjust it as I wish. And I feel like to a certain extent, this is a great replacement for the tools that people are otherwise getting from Anthropic or OpenAI and so forth. In other words, having the ownership and the control in your own site where you can still build and do whatever you want and self-publish, but you can even take things like, as we just showed you, you can add now a piece of software. You can add now a piece of content. You can create an outcome. Like here's another example in the pop-out version. I showed you, or talked to you about this last week. If I uploaded a real estate contract, I can just drop the original PDF in and I can click preview. Here is the original contract. But I've also got the baseline of that, which I can use, and I can put those two in there and say, for example, hey, Fernando, I'm on the office hours. Can you take the real estate contract I've attached and make up a data set for an offer on a house for $1 million and make up the address, call it, I don't know, 3540 North Ravenswood, Chicago 60657. Okay. Imagine you're a real estate broker. You drop in to your mobile, or you get a text or an email, your mobile, you get a offer for a house, or you want to make an offer on a house. You've already got the MLS contract for your local jurisdiction in PDF form as a data set. The idea is that now you can generate from a mobile device asynchronously with notifications, which, by the way, notice Coach will tell you here's the welcome page ready. He will tell me up here when my contract is ready because he can do it asynchronously. I can go working on other stuff. A lot of work can get done in that way. But the bridge too far has been, how can I build a helper piece of software that takes these kinds of tools that we've already got and puts Fernando to work literally building the custom office, literally building the custom outcome for the business that I've got. And for that, I'm finally pleased to say we literally can do that. And I'm going to show you that with last evening with video and Stanter, we had the breakthrough. Let's do two things. Let's first of all put this back on screen. And I'm going to go to video and Stanter because this is going to be a product called MinuteLaunch Laboratory that will be in your suite of tools. But I'm doing it with video and Stanter because this is a real life business doing real life work. And let me explain what's going on here. So in MinuteLaunch Laboratory, we have two things happening. First of all, this is fully enabled with its own capability to use any of the modern open router LLMs. So I can choose from 659 models from free up to Claude Opus 4.7. It just depends on how quickly you want to spend your allocation of tokens from me, but you can always put in your own tokens. Next, we've also got a SERP API key so it can do live web research as well. It has the capability of being trained. Besides choosing the model, you can give it training about how you want to do things with your business. His ultimate capability is not just to do task lists and help you manage the business, but to build the helper plugin. So for example, here it is installed so he knows about the deposition scheduler plugin. This is the plugin that for video and Stanter runs this entire operation. It's replaced literally tens of thousands of dollars a year of software and does literally all of their work. This is live, so I'll be reasonably cautious about not upsetting anything. They are running it with a 14-person firm, millions of dollars a year of income. They're running on this software, which now runs in focus mode as their main operating system for their business. But see, Steve, the owner, who's a pal of mine, wanted to interact and continue to improve his business without having to call Spence. Kathleen Kuhn, the same way. Doug Sheehan, the same way. Lloyd, Claude, Marcus, John, all of you the same way. The ultimate goal, whether or not you want to have an avatar staring at you in the face, is to have a persona that is working for you, that helps you to overcome the billionaire trillionaire class trying to turn us all into quite literally useless ants at their picnic. We have the ability to have our own robots, to have our own methods of doing what we need to do. And this is my feeling of open source, how we get there. He has a chat. So he's like separate, but connected to Coach. What do I mean? Coach has knowledge of everything that the MinuteLaunch Laboratory, Fernando, is doing, but they're really not interacting terribly too much. Instead, what's happening is this guy is focused on building the specific plugin, the helper plugin, in this case, the deposition scheduler that runs the office. And in doing so, Steve can have conversations with him. There are task lists here: open items, waiting verification, and fixed. So when you have a conversation with the MinuteLaunch Laboratory, Fernando, you can upload supporting images from your computer or screenshots of things that go wrong, or you can just have a conversation and say, essentially the same way as the other one with the microphone, And by the way, it's my Chrome browser is heavy. Good morning, Fernando. It's Spence. Can you tell me what tasks are still open and what do you think we should work on next? Now, if I hit enter, it will end this conversation and submit it, which is really pretty nice because I can also go in and audit it if I need to. But when I give him the instructions, he can have a dialogue with me, first of all, about what he thinks from the open items on the task list need to be done. Notice these are also things that he can control. So for example, he's saying there's 17 open items. He's giving his suggestion about what would be good. Here's a neat thing I built in. Notice if I click on any item, it scrolls to the item, which is super, super easy to navigate. Notice that he can also make items if I want, or I or Steve can make items if I want. And we can also do reports. So if I wanted to look at any open items, I can do a CSV file or JSON or open as text or print out a list of everything that needs to be done. The idea is this is the best of all worlds when it comes to figuring out how you are doing with building the business that you want to build. But he's also got this button here called autonomy. That's up here. It's very hard to see maybe, but up here, there is a orange button called autonomy. If I turn that off, that's the HAL 9000 button. That means that he will not be able to build the plugin. He'll only be able to recommend stuff. If I go into web mode, he'll be able to browse the web and find information as necessary if that was relevant. If I want to see the releases that he's built, he keeps versioning here of his releases. And by the way, just to close the loop on this so I can get more real estate for you guys, let's just look over here for a second. Coach has taken my contract and he's used the terms of the original to make a new contract with all the items filled in. Now, personally, I would tell him to knock this off with all the colors. But what you should understand is he was able to essentially take the essence of the original contract and fill in all the items ready for review and ready for signature just by asking. And if I asked him as a follow-up, hey, Fernando, I love what you did with the contract. Can you really make it true to the original that you've got as the baseline and not so many colors or other things? Try to just fill it out and make it look like the original contract and then give me a notification when you're done, okay? So what I'm suggesting is it's far easier for you to be specific. And once I do that, I can make that into a skill, which I've talked about before, right? That he knows this is how I fill out contracts. Don't make a bunch of colors. Don't be silly, but still take the original PDF and do it. So on this side of the table with Coach, we've got a tool that is allowing you to do more work more easily with the personality of Fernando or whomever. And on this side, I'm just going to let him stew over there. On this side, we've got the MinuteLaunch Laboratory, where he is an expert developer and coder who is working on your task list of items you want to build out for your business, for your helper plugin that creates the outcomes made from the tools that we've got, like the image editor or the Stripe gateway or the other things, the 20 or so plugins. If I ask him to do any of these things, he will build it. He will make a new release. He will then have a history of everything he did so that I never have to guess and I can always go back, which is really pretty cool. He can also brainstorm with me, which I think is probably the best part. So if I, for example, say, listen, Fernando, let's brainstorm. I'm on this office hours demonstrating your capability to my other audience members, and I'm finding everybody is interested in what you can do for brainstorming. Can you list out for me a bullet list of maybe the 5 or 6 things that you think we should build and why? And again, I hit enter once to pause him, enter twice to send it along. Notice while I'm doing this that the coach has abso-freaking-lutely killed it. So check it out. He took the original PDF, which he turned into a baseline. He filled it out like as if it was a typewriter. And now it is suitable for me to email if I want. I can print it if I want. I can save it. I can share it. I can do anything that I need to do with this document. And I have now in my pocket a device that keeps track of all of the information that my customers need as a foundation for doing more stuff. Like, for example, if I wanted to ask him to look up the value of things, right? Like, hey, by the way, can you check what's the current value of the property at 3540 North Ravenswood, Chicago, Illinois? That's a building that I built in my previous life. It was probably $2 million when I built it. It's probably worth $3 million now. But the point is, let's have him look it up. Having the guy who has the documents and the access to the customer and all the information to research means that he can do real work, right? So he's able to look this up. He's actually saying he doesn't have the assessor's value, but that's okay, because I'm going to say, just use your live search capability to look on Zillow or whatever and just see what the latest number was on any of those listings that you can access publicly. He knows he doesn't have access to the MLS data and he's trying to be cautious. So I'm just giving him permission to grab it. But this is the same kind of conversation that I'm having over here with Fernando in the laboratory. He has given me a list of suggestions. Here are 6 builds I'd prioritize. Team members as real WordPress users, data integrity and backup system, dashboard chiclets for all submenus, the trial Zoom. He's indicating which items from previous task lists are also worthwhile. Now, I'm going to ask him another question. I'm going to say, aside from any of the actual punch list items that are open, knowing what you know about what we're building, do you have any new suggestions for things that would be useful to build? Explain yourself. Okay. Over here, he's acting kind of weird, which is interesting because he can search the web, but he's coming back with just links. So I'm going to ask him for a different question. Give me clickable links that I can use to go see those property listings directly by just clicking and opening in a new tab, which is still helpful because what happens is, and this is not any fault of his own, those property listing sites put no robots text, which is the same kind of shenanigans that you see in a lot of things like LinkedIn, which is why I've built tools like Cyrano. These companies put no robots text because they don't want people sending over their AI to just scrape the hell out of everything. So if he gives me these links, I'm going to ask him to make sure they're clickable too. I appreciate that you're giving me the links. You must give them to me in clickable HTML so I can just click and view them, please. That's another thing that I would probably, I'm going to improve in the coach. There should have been a hard rule that he follows that says every time he gives me a link, it should not be in Markdown. It should be in like click to go. Because I don't want to futz around with copying and pasting. I just want to hit my, button. Let's see if he gives those back to me. Okay. Meanwhile, the laboratory guy is suggesting a job timeline, audit log, automated reminders, and SLA, service level agreement tracking, a lawyer portal, KPI dashboard for Steve, smart duplicate contact, one job, one link, shareable, something. So in other words, what I've got in the right side, and let's just have a pause and then I'm going to share some more. I've got, for no extra cost, a baseline of 20 incredibly competent tools run by an agentic partner who can use, with included credits, any of 659 models for doing all the kind of work you want and saving the content in a box that can be owned and controlled by you or your client. That means that things are not being spread out all over. That means that for clients that are concerned of their privacy, their HIPAA, their data, their integrity, you can give these promises. That means that real work can be done for as little as $97 a month. including the cost value of having the AI tokens. That means that you can have an interface that can literally from scratch build and improve on the plugin and write the code and give itself the safety nets for both collaborating and interacting with you as the owner of the site or your client, but also continually make suggestions for improvements. If we were to set this on autopilot, like Steve and I did the other day, we said, clean off all of the items on the list. And with Coach on the left side, and I'll turn these guys back on, we're seeing the same thing with regard to documentation. If I dump in all my documents, if I dump in all of my spreadsheets and so forth, I can have real work done. Well, thank you very much. And I used to go by the Spence the Evil Genius, and I used to say things like, welcome to the lab. But now I just am Spence, but now I'm sort of weirdly a hybrid of me and Fernando. And right, so hablando en español. Me llamo Salvador. Okay. Let's look at a couple of things that were built out here, because I don't want to lose track of my thought before I show you a couple of things. And today I'm going to stay on point too. So, okay. So let's do two things together. First of all, because I want to share the Ravenswood thing. Let's pick something that's low-hanging fruit and say, hey, listen, to impress everybody in the group, pick something from the existing list of open items and fix it. Make sure it's something simple. Report back that you fixed it and show how you've put it on the awaiting verification list, and report back here to my audience which number you did and how you can prevent any accidents by using your safety net. I also want you to demonstrate how you can update the version of the software automatically and show that to us, okay? So what I'm saying is you've got autonomy. I've turned on your capability, so to speak, to go ahead and code away. I've said, let's do this, right? Like, get me what I need to demonstrate that you're fixing items on the list, right? So let's see how he does with this. He's chewing on the suggestion. In the meantime, while he's doing that, I'm going to go over here to Coach. And Coach in the canvas has given me he took it to the nth degree. He didn't have to go that far, but he essentially gave me all the lookups of this property. And I can see the Zillow estimate. I can see the Redfin. I can see Trulia. Let's see what happens if I click the little click out link, open link in new tab, or let's do it in a new window and see if I can do it that way. And here it is. This is, by the way, for those of you who want to know what I did in another life, I built crazy custom houses like this madhouse, this 20,000 square foot. No, it's 10,000 square feet, but it had a pool on the roof, basketball court. I mean, it was crazy town. I think I sold it in the mid millions, like $1 million and a change. Now it's at $3 million. If you guys are looking, I don't know if it's on the market, but what's pretty cool to me is, as far as Fernando is concerned, he's given me the public records, the neighborhood browsing. He's given me like a full report, which maybe I'd tell him to change the style. But let's imagine I'm a real estate broker and I have a client who's wanting to put a bid on this house. How freaking cool is it that I can now publish this for my client or send it to a client in an email format? And let's tweak it a little bit and say, I love what you gave me. Can you make that less looking like it was made by AI and more professional, like it was a real estate broker, and pretend that I'm Spencer Foreman Properties, Inc. Make it something that has the same data, but that I can actually send to a client instead of with all those emojis, which I don't like, okay? So in other words, I'm just asking him to remake it. Notice he's also sharing the code, which if I wanted to, I could copy and just use inside of my email. I could use it inside of my website, because as we've talked about, by using HTML5, I am completely liberated from all the nonsense of Gutenberg and everything else. And yet I can still, with the MinuteLaunch system, have fully controlled header, footer, main page content, email, sales pages, and more. In other words, we have the best of WordPress ownership control box, but by using no extra plugins and no extra nonsense, I can just have a guy in my pocket who is a better HTML designer than anything I could be and does things instantly. And once he does it right, or we agree on it, that's the way it's going to be from then on. So notice he instantly gave me back this professional thing, which I would probably print out, right? So using the built-in printer capability, I would just print this out for my clients as a PDF with clickable links, and my client would love me to death. Let's go to the assessor's office and look at the records for this, or let's go to the Zillow active listings or whatever. Okay. I want to show you something else that is a preview of MinuteLaunch Learn, but I'll show you that at the end, because what I'm trying to impress upon you today and keeping it focused is notice what's happening here. Not once, not one single time have I typed, have I gone on the back end, have I used any plugins. Not once have I dragged and dropped. Not once have I done a block. Not once have I gotten stuck. Not once have I been frustrated. Not once have I felt like I wanted to just throw something across the room because somebody put a banner up in my face trying to sell anything. Do you see the difference? And all of this is $97 a month, including the keys to do this crazy stuff that I'm doing. I want you to know too that after I show you what the laboratory assistant Fernando does, I want to show you the new MinuteLaunch persona as well as this MinuteLaunch Learn, and I'll wrap up with those things. So here's what he did. He's done task number 118, the courtroom emergency email, used to end with to reach the reporters. It now ends with to reach the team. He's given me a ticket, which means that there's a history here, which I can review. He's made the edit. He's moved the item to awaiting verification. So let's click on 118. And sure enough, notice it is purple instead of red. It has been moved into the awaiting verification. And that means that Steve or I can double check it and make sure what he did is correct, right? And so this particular plugin, I know where to go for this. And I could ask him if I wanted to tell me where to go. I know that in this case, if we go under settings and I look for the settings of this email, actually, I take it back. Maybe I'm wrong. This is in emergency email. Now it ends with, I'm gonna ask him. I thought that was in the card. Let's ask him. In what settings menu can I find this to check it? I don't remember. I thought it was in the settings page. Is that right? There's a lot of features in this system that we built for Steve. So I'm actually, ironically, sometimes need to ask the guy to help me out. If Steve was on the line, he runs his own business. He knows exactly where it's at. So you could trigger a courtroom email from a test job or send you a preview email right now. Oh. I'll tell you what I know we can do. Trigger an email right now so I can see it in the email logs. That would be fine. So we're using Fluent SMTP, and whenever we have email, it goes out, it goes into the log. You've given me the nudge. I needed to catch up on all the awesome work you've been doing with MinuteLaunch. Do you think conventional WP? No, they will not. They will absolutely not survive. And here's why. Let me explain to you what is different now. If we go inside of MinuteLaunch, besides all these other things with the media library, if we go look at what's inside the plugin manager or how this works, just by using the free plugin manager, free, you get to meet Fernando. So even if you've paid no money with Fernando, I've given 90% of the value proposition. Free Fernando can answer any question about anything WordPress. And yes, he can actually build. He can actually make the same kind of pages you've seen. He can actually do certain media library manipulations. He can do a whole lot of stuff. The point being, he can make for free instant coded solutions for things that used to require plugins. So number one, for free, just by putting in Fernando, everybody's got access to all the information about anything they need to know about what to do with WordPress, with legacy plugins or not. But they also, for free, can make instant solutions that they can immediately use to solve problems directly. But if that's not enough, when they have the paid version of the software, there's things like MinuteLaunch Products Plus. This is a product plugin replacement I made to demonstrate how much better, faster, easier things can be with this type of development system. Instead of paying $97 a year for some 300 different things it does plugin, we could just make our own plugin that does all of the things and more. Like, for example, this makes custom features and options with incredible level of help and integration for WooCommerce. If I wanted to customize WooCommerce products, I don't need to buy somebody else's plugins. I can literally create demo products or do this on any real product as simply as this. Let's look at a custom engraved t-shirt product. Here's WooCommerce. Here's the new add-on that, by the way, has all these color overrides. It has the high-end features of being able to use any kind of field type, any kind of text. You can set the colors, the choices, all of the variables you want with a beautiful drag and drop interface. Fernando plugin builder in the laboratory made this. I did this on a previous show. Look at what the outcome is for the product on the front end. I don't have a placeholder image, but look to the right. Now I can do my custom t-shirt. I was speaking to a friend of mine who makes plugins in WordPress. They do $1 million a year of plugins. I said to her, you've got to be aware of what AI can do so that you can integrate this into your workflow in your business. Because I myself, if I was that type of a person, and I'm not, could just take every single one of your plugins and replace them right now. Just right now. I won't, but there are people who would. And everybody who has WordPress should, because that is the reality of what we're dealing with. I'm giving you guys the tools to do this stuff for yourself, but many people are off into vibe coding land and they don't necessarily have access to this. I'm trying to democratize this by saying if you started for free. Now, this idea of plugins doesn't even make sense anymore in the traditional plugin way, because here's the other thing. With the plugin manager, this is white labelable. Notice all that I need to do is click update all plugins, and everything is a virtual plugin. It is not a zip file, with the exception of the one plugin, the MinuteLaunch Canvas block, which, by the way, replaces all of the page builders to allow Fernando or you to have an amazing interactive way to build content and control it. So getting rid of this crazy ecosystem, getting rid of all these extra things you don't need, being able to have exactly what you want to need on demand, built and managed by a helper, is incredible. By the way, I'm going to bounce back, but let's take a look. He's asking me, let's do help at wplaunchify.com. Let's tell him to send us a test email. It doesn't matter if I get it or not, because I'm going to look at it in the mail log, but he's asking, so I'm going to tell him. I want to give you a sneak peek of, this is going to kind of blow you guys away if you follow me. I'm not selling this. I am using this as a service, but there will be aspects of this irrelevant. This is MinuteLaunch Learn. This is, in addition to other things, a way for me to provide a service to people who have content out in the wild, in YouTube and otherwise, and to be able to give them the thing that they need, whether it be an additional subscription service where their persona can be delivering content to their audience, or whether it be to release their data for other research. The point is, somebody who's got hundreds or thousands of videos on YouTube can be essentially a value proposition where for no money out of their pocket, I can release the value of their data to them and to their audience in a way that are doing things like not just their video itself, not just talking to them during the video, but also, like I've shown in other things, to create content. But I've taken this farther because when it comes to designing the output and the lessons and the courses, we can even have custom designs. Like now you can have this design on demand for your own course lessons. You can have Fernando, who is there with you, not in your case, but in this case, you can have Fernando designing the actual output of the courses, of the lessons, instead of just taking it or leaving it like with an old-fashioned LMS plugin. So for example, here's a course. I can make the visibility of it full or preview for somebody who's not a member. I can make it free or paid, but I can also do it on a per lesson basis. Now, notice if I go into edit each lesson, I can always go way back into the page editor, but I don't need to. Instead, I can just have Fernando generate HTML and stylize the page the way I want. It can have Fernando create the thumbnail image like I just did for my son Alex and use that, because any of these images can be used with the media library and edited as you wish, or have it automatically created for the topic at hand. When the actual stuff is put together, somebody is able now to have accessory things that they sell. In addition to selling access to their content or to access to chat with them, they can now have affiliate related products or their own products. Maybe they've got courses or ebooks or memberships in addition to accessing their video library or the interactive chatting with them. If they've got other members, the members can get into a cohort and discuss things using the same kind of tools I showed you with Cyrano, where they literally can chat. All of these things are tools available with one free plugin that you just upgrade. How do you upgrade? Well, built into the Get Started guide, when you talk to Fernando, he can tell you what you need and why you need it. But if you click the plans and upgrades, your client or you can simply click and it will show your client or you your affiliate link if that's the relationship that you've got. So in other words, if you have a client, and this is a paid site, so it's not showing it, but if I go to a free site, if you have a client and they are using your stuff, that will show them a link to subscribe. I'm going to have to go, let's go to MinuteLaunch Shop. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Persona. Let's add in the MinuteLaunch plugin manager. They will get your link, your affiliate link. So client installs the free plugin, gets huge value, gets to do whatever they want. If they want to upgrade and get all the other tools and features, you get paid because you're the one that gave them the plugin. If you are on a paid client arrangement where it's your client, we have white label capability. The plugin manager and everything else can be white labeled to your brand, your name. I've just tried to make this as easy as possible for everybody to win. And notice there's no banners or any crazy stuff that's in everybody's face, right? So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do plugin manager. I'm going to just put the latest version. If I put the plugin manager into a free site, watch what happens. Instantly, somebody is able to use it. But also, if I click the Get Started guide and plans and upgrades, unless hopefully maybe he broke. I might have broken my own thing, but it's okay. Normally, and now I just have to note to self, when I click this, a page toggles up from the bottom and it says what the upgrades are. But in any event, notice that if I started talking to him, I say allow mic. I say, hey, Fernando, it's Spence. How you doing? Listen, I'm really curious about WordPress and the MinuteLaunch system. Can you tell me how it might help me if I have a membership site that currently uses LearnDash and MemberPress and WooCommerce and a bunch of old plugins? Is there a better way? Now, this is free, so he's a little slower, of course, because he's talking Open Router through the free thing. He's not talking through Opus 4.7. So he's 0 tokens cost versus $2.50 per million. But he will come up with an answer. And when he does, he can also show you step-by-step stuff, suggestions, learn more, and so forth. And so I am building relationships with many of the traditional plugin authors so that it refers to their documentation. I have most of them already indexed. So if I say, do you have step-by-step instructions on how I can install and set up WooCommerce? It seems really complicated. Show me images. Okay, let's see if he pulls this off. Imagine you got a client that's been driving you crazy, or a customer that doesn't know how to use their own stuff. I've just shown you 3 different ways that Fernando is there in his various capacities. Like, again, like the image says, like, it's Robot Fernando. He's your customer support manager. He's your free help guy. He's your whatever. Now I notice something went wonky here with the layout. That's something I'll have to tweak, but that's on me. Do you have any images you can show me in line here? In a previous incarnation of this, before I did the upgrade, the plans and upgrades worked, and this other thing showed the images. I could see that he's only showing links now, so I'll fix this. But normally what happens is that he shows these images in line. Maybe these are broken. Again, work in progress. The amount of stuff that he does right now is still pretty amazing, but the free guy, I'm working on tweaking just a little bit. Okay. Last bit, let's come back around and see the video in Stanter. Let's just see the email, and then we'll call Uncle on today. So I know he might have sent me an email. Let's see what he said. He said, what to look for. I sent a mail to help at WP Launchify, and he has already marked this 118 as fixed, so it's awaiting verification. If I go into my email, let's see, there it is. Here is the email he sent me. It worked. And the thing that he was doing was to change the text. So let's make sure he actually changed it. It's supposed to be the word reporter now says team. And I wish I knew more about what it was supposed to say. So I don't know exactly. I have to refresh what I'm looking for. Let's ask him. What was it that I'm looking for in the email to validate that this was fixed? I'm just not as familiar as Steve. Let's see what he said. He says the last word was reporter. So now it says team. To reach the team. Okay. Maybe because of the fact that I don't actually have information in here, it doesn't say either one. I'm not sure. I'm not going to worry about it too much because I know I'll leave this for Steve. So I'm going to tell him, make a note for Steve that says Spence was working on this as part of his show and that he should check to make sure this is still good. So move this back into open status and leave a note for Steve as to what I just said. All that's really important to me is that you guys appreciate that I'm able to do incredible amounts of work and do it from any location. And the last thing I'll do, like, for example, here is if I was working, let's close a couple of things. Let's close Fernando's chat. Let's do a new chat. If I was working with a person in my list, I have asynchronous capability. This little timer here lets him work on stuff in the background. And this little selector here lets me also select auto or choose any of the tools that I want to use. But if I wanted to do so, I can work from here and say, for example, I want to send something for this particular client, like Art Kessler, and whether or not I want to actually send him an email or a text, or I want to do work for him. The point is I can choose from the people, the things, the documentation that has been turned into templates, the skills, the blocks of previously made content, like I just did the software bundle pages or new website and so forth. All of these things being mobile friendly with notifications at a cost that is essentially no more than the 97 or the 197 a month. And that, as you can see here, lives on the desktop. This is the pop-out window. Would allow me, I think, to offer anything to anyone, including some of those other verticals. I have other solutions that I'm not going to discuss with you guys today, but you'll see from some of my testing that I'm also going out to do the marketing and see whether or not these verticals actually start to generate clients. One of the things that I'm using, among others, that I will be probably including in your kit is this new product called MinuteLaunch Persona. And this is what I was hinting at earlier. Here's MinuteLaunch Persona. Where is it? Let's go here. Let's just open it up. This is fully untested. I literally just launched this morning from last night's test where I was showing you what I was doing with MinuteLaunch Persona. Lets you essentially create a spokesperson, a person, place, or thing. It can be as realistic as you want, right? So we'll call this Fernando full size. And I'll say, Fernando is a 59-year-old, very well-dressed, very well-educated gentleman who speaks fluently in Spanish and is very interested in helping people with education. He speaks in a very measured way, but sometimes very emphatically. And he looks like he does in the attached image. So keep him locked in on that reference. Now, the prompt on that might or might not be great. What I have been using are tools that generate really good prompts. And I can also use how they talk and so forth, you know, confident, casual, slightly playful, honest recommendations. I can put in a different wardrobe, let's say white dress shirt, black tie, white jacket. The setting I can leave alone, the prompt I can leave alone. Now I can set the aspect ratio. In this case, I can make it widescreen, and I can use a reference image as well as an 11 Labs voice. So with the 11 Labs voice, I can actually choose for the full audio video what to do, right? Like I can put in 11 Labs. I have Fernando. I can pick from Fernando by using his reference ID, right? Copy voice ID, or it appears in the dropdown. I'll just put it in here. I'm going to have this try to generate new personas, but I'm going to give it the lockdown image that I started with. And in this case, that's just going to help him understand what I'm supposed to be doing. And so let me grab his original image here. I'll just copy URL. And again, if I was doing this from scratch, use this as reference, I would probably just have him make new people, like generate reference candidates. I probably need to work on this a bit to say, if I've already got a guy, keep him. But this will make 4 different versions of this, if I want, that can be used for creating anything I tell him to do, right? Including like, here's a message for Fernando. And he'll be able to spit out essentially the kind of stuff that I was showing you here, which is a 10 to 15 second clip of him saying different things. The ultimate goal is you're going to see me and Fernando having podcasts or having interactions like an Instagram. Now, one fun thing while he's doing that, and I'll close on this, is I don't use Instagram that much, but Instagram, I was at the computer museum, the history museum, and let's see if I can post this for my, I don't know how this works, so I'm mental, but here's, I was at the computer museum and wearing my sport coat, by the way, and there was this thing called a Mica, which was like a disembobulated head talking. A Mica Computer History Museum. And I had a good time with it because it essentially was, I think, where our scary future is. is that Amika was like ahead and she talked and it had a microphone. And so I was having a funny conversation. You guys are welcome to enjoy this if you want. I'll paste it in the chat. And let's just wrap up and see what this created. Okay, so what this did is not necessarily what I wanted to do, but notice what happens is it created reference candidates that I could lock in on. Like if I wanted to make a new version of this from Fernando, I create this guy and I save it. Now, at that point, I can generate new content, right? And I could tell it what I want it to do. That's what the game plan is here. The script could be, you know, hello, everybody. This is Fernando from MinuteLaunch, and I'd like to welcome you to the office hours with my good friend, Spencer Foreman. Right? And I can ask for a suggestion if I don't want to write it myself. And then I can do the raw image, which can, again, bypass the wardrobe and do other stuff. And then I can say what I want it to make, a 10-second silent or a talking video. It gives me the price. It can make it in the aspect ratio that I need for YouTube or for Instagram. I can use these different things to create with my API keys, right? So if I used a 16:9 YouTube and I made it a talking video, it would cost me $3, 30 cents for the lip sync. I can generate this and it will create a pipeline. Now, why is that relevant? Well, you guys know that I've got another product called MinuteLaunch Social. You've seen, or I don't know if you have, I've seen endless videos on Instagram and otherwise that are essentially 10 seconds to sometimes 15 seconds of somebody using a hook about like something that's important. Like, you know, I didn't believe this, but just the other day, or maybe you've read this, or did you hear this thing on the news? And what happens is this is the new way to get traffic, which I'm going to be demonstrating from scratch for a lot of these businesses, where it kind of annoys me because I get like this one, like this is a real girl, but she just like shows herself on an airplane and she's got 100 jillion followers because she has a $27 free PDF, right? Let me see if any of these pop up. Depending on where I start with this, I get anything from back injury stuff to Gen X stuff to what I wanted to see if it happened was if I could get one of those AI generated things. AI. This is AI. This one I've seen 100 times. That's an AI girl talking to, that's a real guy, but he's an adult film star, so forgive me. But the girl goes meow and the guy does something else. AI, not sure. Probably real AI. It doesn't have to be a girl. It can be any character. But the point is that what's happening is having an AI persona that's generated automatically is the way that this is going to get done. And so what I wanted to do is provide you guys for a tool. Good morning. You are at the end, but I welcome you to the show, and I hope you will watch the rest of it because we had a good show today, and you're welcome to email me again, but welcome. Okay, so let me wrap it up because we're in 11 minutes over. Hopefully today you have seen right now for free, you can get started. Your clients can get started with the MinuteLaunch system. You go to minutelaunch.com/ML and download the plugin. I am making that more readily available so that it's all over the place. That is the gateway to an upgrade to $197 a month. $97 a month hosted yourself, comes with the keys, provides $5 of credit that is very, very useful in this context for the 20 or so tools. Plus, you then unlock the coach. The MinuteLaunch Laboratory that I demonstrated today is my way of showing you that probably this weekend, I'm going to make that part of the suite. You will have your own MinuteLaunch Laboratory. Using those 3 iterations of where Fernando shows up, you demonstrably can do and make anything you want. Your clients can do it, mobile or desktop. None of the things I showed you today were using any WordPress plugins at all, and yet they were making WordPress outcomes. Everything from the design to the header to the footer to the output to the whatever. The idea is the ownership and control is your best tool. Everything with the MinuteLaunch can be white labeled, and everything can give you an affiliate credit if you're signed up as an affiliate. So essentially, All you need to do is to participate. And whether you are a creator of software, because we can index you in your traditional software and give you exposure through the knowledge of Fernando inside of the MinuteLaunch, Ask Fernando help, or whether or not you're making stuff yourself for your own business or for your clients. Either way, we can all win by using this as the way to move WordPress forward. By the way, worth mentioning, I follow all of the modern guidelines that allow you to integrate with your desktop tools, which I showed last week. So if you prefer to use Claude, Cursor, Claude Desktop, Goose, any of these tools connect instantly with the MinuteLaunch Laboratory model or with the Fluent MCP. Just copy, paste, you're good to go. And so that's how I've been actually building these things. But what I really think is more interesting is when you've got the desktop stuff that pops out. So why should it be that we have to rely on using Cursor and set all of that up when really what we can do is just pop on over. Let's go over to Coach. I have them set up for me on MinuteLaunch Coach. If I just pop out Coach, ta-da, I'm good to go. And I can start building, or I can just go back to what I had just built a minute ago. Blocks. Here's the software bundle page. Tell him to publish that bad boy, right? Let's publish that as a page. Demonstration. I say publish. He gives me the publication. I just click view live. Boom. That's live on my site. And if I want to change the color, I say, hey, Fernando, listen, I love what you did with the WP Launchify software bundle page. Make it full width and change those colors instead of that weird gradient stuff. Let's just go ahead and instead make it the black background, the white letters, the orange and gray accents. Aiden, you can use our MCP if you want, but the newer way of doing things is you don't even need to bother. If you want to use your own desktop tools, besides just popping out your own desktop tool from the site, which is what I just did, you can use this new modern way of doing it. If we go inside to the plugin manager, there's a thing called Connect Your Agent. You generate a key one time that you can renew. You have the tools here. So if I pulled up Goose, let's show Aiden. If I want to use Goose, or if I want to use Claude Desktop, or I want to use Cursor, it doesn't make a difference. Let's pull up Goose because he's free and awesome. Where did Goose go? Did I remove him? I'll pull up Claude because I seem to have removed. Where did Goose go? I must have deleted him this weekend. Hold on. Oh, you know what I did? I deleted him because I cleaned up my hard drive. So let's use, I'll use Claude, but let me just show you something real quick. Notice I just told him to change the design, right, of the site. I could tell him to just update that, or I could just republish it. It makes no difference. And when I do, now I essentially change the look and feel of the live site page to that. As quickly as that, I was able to change what I needed to do, okay? Let's show you how to connect your desktop. So if I take what I've got here, I will open up a new instance of Claude, and I'll say file new conversation. And all I do is this. I'm going to copy the key. I'm going to paste in the key. No config file necessary. I'm going to copy the instructions, and I'm going to say to him, hey, Fernando, it's Spence. I've given you a new connection to MinuteLaunch.com with the MinuteLaunch Connect Your Agent tool. The key is separate from the REST API stuff, so you don't have to worry about security. Connect up and let me know if you can publish. Okay, so what happens now, as simple as that, without needing, thank you, my friend, without needing to do anything else, no config file, no Fluent MCP, which, by the way, you can see we've got the Fluent MCP. You can still use this. The Fluent MCP is 5 suitcases full of 191 tools. We don't need that all the time. Instead, This instant connect your agent provides us instant satisfaction with a disposable key. So now he's going to test a post, and I'm going to ask him to give me a clickable link. Or if he doesn't already, he already knows better. So look, preview. Here's the page. Open the link. He's going to give me the draft in Canvas block. I'm sure that's how he's conditioned. Here's his test. Here's the preview. If we were to publish it because we say okay, as simple as that. Done. Just copy and paste. So Aiden, if you're still here, that is what we do instead of, although you could still use it, the Fluent MCP. MCP was our first iteration like a couple months ago when everybody was thinking MCP was going to be awesome. The downside of MCP, even though you've got it, is that you've got to load all this stuff. And then you've got 5 suitcases of stuff. You have to sort of tell the guy to toggle on and off because he gets overwhelmed. With the MinuteLaunch Instant Connect, just the laboratory method, you just copy paste and he's got access to anything he needs to do for his purpose. And that includes both writing the code as well as for publishing, like you just saw. Okay, I want to say thanks to you guys for showing up. I'm really excited because there's probably a half a dozen other things I didn't share because I tried to stay focused on just one topic per week on Fridays. So you have action steps. And I'm going to be moving into this new thing, which is final outcomes, marketing tactics and techniques, using the tools so you can build your audience and actually get your new subscribers. That's the inspiration I have from these Instagram people. I've already got everything as the deliverable for you guys to achieve whatever you want. I'm going to start doing live real businesses from scratch, which I'll show you later, where I started 0, and I'm going to use the lab tools to actually make the actual personas that go on to Instagram and build the audiences, go on to YouTube, build the audiences, go on to Facebook, build the audiences that come back, and I will just share, which I normally do not do, but this case I will share how those are all doing in public. And they all start with a free plugin. So I hope you guys appreciate that. I'm really trying to make this as simple as possible, but also to demonstrate we're in a brave new world where there's only 2 things that matter: a relationship with human beings that have pain you can solve, and number 2, the speed of execution. And by the way, if you guys want to get the free plugin today at MinuteLaunch, thank you, Aiden, by the way, .com ML, download it. There are still obviously a few things I'm fixing all the time, but you've got everything I've shown here today. There's no holds barred. But what I'm really looking for, that Stripe Gateway is going to have its affiliate reference component. I'm going to show you more about MinuteLaunch Learn as a system because you can refer clients into it. The 2 ideas that it does, along with the video idea, along with the RV, there's a bunch of verticals. You guys can all participate. Everybody can get 20% on any referrals for all of the things, whether it be the base system, the baked in tools that Fernando uses, or on the fully executed businesses. Everybody here can win by sending clients and customers. And that includes on the service aspect, because although I won't share the revenue on my own service time, you can add your services on top of mine or sell that as a package, because you can do things in a relationship with me, like I hopefully shown you, like $500,000 outcomes we can have baked, ready to go with a private server, WordPress, fully functional, that you look like a genius and you just paid Spence $5,000. Done. Okay. Thank you. I love you all. I appreciate you for all your support. We're getting into exciting times. I'll see you on the next one.